everyone, it's Abigail here again. As the title of this video goes, I'm just going to share some tips about how I progressed significantly in my career in banking. So for 7 years, I worked in two main bulge brackets. And for a Black woman and somebody who was from a different culture, me coming from Ghana, coming to work in London in the UK, there's so many things I had to do to make sure that my career progressed the way I expected it to, and to help me progress quite quickly as well. So today I'm going to share so many tips that I think so many people will find helpful if you are in any form of career. If you're in corporate and are trying to move up in your career, hopefully this can give you some motivation, this can give you some tips, this can give you some help to enable you get to where you want to get to in your corporate career. So the first tip is one, seeing the organization as a whole and not just as yourself or as your team. So one thing that happened is majority of the time, you have people in front office, middle office, and back office. And front office, middle office, and back office have very different functions. It might happen that people in middle office and back office think they work more than people in front office. Maybe when they look at the hours that they spend in the office versus those who are trading on the trading floor, they do think that, oh, maybe I spend so much time in the office and I'm not getting paid well. But you need to look at the organization from the point of view of the top executives. Assume it's yours. When you are paying people who are revenue generating compared to people who are pretty much a cost to the business, there are different ways of compensating them. And naturally, people pay those who are revenue generating more as a form of motivation to get them to do more, to get them to make more millions for the company. So in this case, we had like several people in different divisions who were complaining about how they are not paid well and all that. And I felt like most people needed to take a step back and look at, where am I? Where do I want to be? Which divisions highlight my skills? Which divisions are stressful and which are not that stressful? What I want for my life and which one I'm going to chase. And if I decide to chase those, understand what the division brings to the table and understand how well it is compensated. So let's say, let me give an example. Let's say you are in ops where you book trades and you make sure trades settle, right? But you work from 7 a.m. to about 8 p.m. every single day. So to you, you're working so hard. And then end of the year, they are paying comps. Comp is usually the bonus. And then you get paid in way lesser than your colleague or friend who sits in front office and usually trades from, let's say, 7 a.m. to about 5 p.m. and they close. So according to you, you're working harder than the other person, but the other person is getting paid like multiples of what you make. It's good to take a step back and understand what's going on before you make your next few decisions. Because what I noticed was most people will just become angry or be dissatisfied with what they are doing and then throw tantrums or like demand that their boss pays them more. And they usually don't get what they're asking for. And then they end up being very unhappy in their roles. So always make sure you are like literally putting things in place for yourself. If you think the division you're in is not paying you well and you want to move elsewhere, network and move into the other divisions that you think are well compensated. And also when you're moving into these divisions, don't just move because of the money. Move because of what you're going to learn. Move because you find it interesting. Move because you think that you can contribute in that part of the organization. Because if you move and it's not something that's for you, it's going to come back to you later down the line. The next tip I'm going to share is that I stopped seeing my color. Now, being a woman and being a Black woman on the trading floor was difficult because anytime I walked up on that trading floor, there was a point where I was the only Black woman on the trading floor that I was on, which was really hard for me because you come in, everybody is different. I'm trying to learn their culture. I'm trying to learn the culture of the trading floor itself. And I feel so lost. But then as time went on, I had to talk to myself to stop seeing myself as different, to stop seeing myself as the odd one out and just blend in. And also just focus on really nailing my job so that no one can use the fact that they think that I'm not good at my job against me because they think I'm not competent enough. So I made up my mind to focus and nail my job and see what people appreciate. So people appreciate you being proactive, people appreciate you going the extra mile, people appreciate you like doing stuff that helps to make their work easier. So then in that case, I focused on those things and became really good at it so that nobody can say to me that, oh, because I'm from coming from Africa or I'm black, I'm not really good at this kind of job. And I'll tell you a story about what happened that really made me see that I had crossed this bottleneck or this issue that was really bothering my life when I started in the industry. So I went to the US for clients meetings. So I had clients in the US even though I was sitting in London. So these clients, usually you go for like a 2 or 3 day trip and you have back to back to back meetings, pretty much pitching yourself. So you need to remember that when you do that, when you go for these meetings, these clients look at you with pretty much representing the company you are coming from. So you need to make sure that you represent properly. So I went for a meeting with one of my clients and I went with one of the traders on my desk. So he was really a good friend of mine, aside from being just a colleague at work. And we used to talk a lot about race and like how we are being treated and like experiences that we go through. So we finished the meeting and he said to me, which was so weird, he was like, "Oh, did you notice that you are the only black woman in the room?" And for the first time in a long time, I did not notice. And that is when I realized I had won. Because for the first time, I wasn't checking, oh, are they listening to me? Or, oh, do they think that I don't know what I'm talking about? Or are they judging me by my color? Or are they judging me by my gender? I was just delivering. And that trip was really successful for me. So don't look at your color. Don't think that because you are different, you don't deserve to be there or you need to work extra hard. Just do what you need to do and focus on delivering results rather than focus on being different. And before you know it, everybody is giving you the respect that you deserve. The next point was making sure that there was no questions around the work I was doing. So I took a step back and then I kind of like studied what everyone was doing and how they do it, and those that were regarded as people that were doing a good job. So I learned what is pretty much regarded in my business or in my role. And I decided to, in my own way, try and create a niche for myself where people can regard what I'm doing and think it's valuable to the team. And so I started working that way where I go out of my way and be proactive about like sending out notes to my clients, going to see my clients, trying to make sure they're doing more business with me, trying to get them to trust me more. In all this, people started noticing and realizing that I knew what I was about. I was taking the bull by the horns. And that really helped me to overcome most of the other issues I had at work. Because when nobody has any questions around what you're doing, whether you're good employee or whether you're good at your job, you jump half of the hurdle because now there are things that people cannot do without you. They have to include you in some emails because you're the only one who has nailed that particular process. You're the only one who has really gone far in getting results in something else. So then now people are not thinking, oh, I don't know what she's up to, or I'm not sure what's whether to include her in the email. They are thinking we need to have her on the email or we need to have her in the room because she's the only one that the client trusts, if you get my point. So that's one of the things that really helped me. The next thing is organizing events. So most people come in and they are so focused on just their job. But if you want to be well recognized in the firm, which helps with your promotions, you need to go out of your little net and organize events that are not just focused on what you're doing. And that could be other extracurricular activities that your firm provides. So sometimes you have some affiliates, literally clubs, if I can put it that way, that the firm will be encouraging you to join. So let's say we had like diversity network, we had veterans network, we had so many different networks, and you can try and be instrumental in some of these networks and even go out of your way to organize events, invite clients, invite top senior executives so they know you are part of their company, so that they know that, see, this girl is present. This girl is trying to move us forward. This girl understands or this lady, if you want, this lady understands what we are trying to achieve and is going out of her way to do things that will help us achieve these things. Because sometimes in a point in time, you'd have the company focusing on, let's say, diversity and inclusion, or you'd have the company focusing on, let's say, like other programs that given to charity, stuff like that. You can organize a session or some charity donation program where people maybe have to dress up in different costumes and we can donate to charity. Be the one at the forefront so that you are highly recognized, and when more people know you, it helps you to get your promotions, it helps you to be more recognized, it helps you to move up the corporate ladder quite quickly. Now, the next thing that I wanted to mention is discussing your promotions ahead of time with your manager. Now, this is super crucial. You need to understand your promotion cycles, how they work, and how you're going to achieve your promotion before it even gets there. I would advise that the moment you come into the organization, start having catch ups with HR or the person who's in charge of employees. Understand what makes people get promoted, how often people get promoted. So, like with us, we had like a promotion cycle. I think it was every 3 years you are up for promotion. If there's any change in those policies, because you don't want the situation where you are actually up for promotion and you have no idea, and then you haven't worked towards that promotion. So I'll give an example that happened with me. When I was being promoted from analyst to associate, so the levels are analyst, associate, vice president, and then manager. When I was being promoted from analyst to associate, I did not know actually that I was up for promotion that year because the policy had changed and our promotion cycle was usually in September, but they had changed the promotion cycle to January, and therefore they had added our year group to the year group ahead of us. So indirectly, I was going to get somewhat early promotion, but because the whole year group had been added to the year group ahead of us, it was my promotion cycle. So because I thought my promotion was going to be next year, I did not actively have conversations with my manager about my promotion that year. And unfortunately for me, my manager had gone out for a long parental leave. She came back to HR asking her, "Oh, Abigail is up for promotion. Do you want to promote her?" And she said no because she wasn't prepared for it. She hadn't planned for it. We hadn't discussed it. And it's easier for her to say no than to say yes and go and justify to her bosses why I deserved a promotion, which was which didn't go down well with me at all. And I regretted not even knowing that I was actually up for promotion. So you need to understand your timelines. You need to be on top of it. You need to lead these conversations. Because if you think of it, your manager promoting you is you getting a bigger paycheck, which is going to be a bigger cost for the team, right? And their mandate is to be able to deliver results with lower budget or lower cost. So ideally, if you get less paycheck, it's in the favor of your manager. So if you are not actively, having these conversations so that they know that you are fully aware of what's going on, they could easily pass you on for a promotion, deny you a promotion when you've not done anything wrong, but just because you hadn't been keeping up to date on what's going on. Now, the next thing I'll advise or the next tip I'll give is write an email summary for whatever you discuss with your manager. When you start in a firm like that, you need to have an ongoing email with your manager that summarizes your career, where you are, what you think you're doing, where you want to be. So anytime I had a catch up with my manager, especially a strategic catch up concerning my career, I would write a summary of what happened in the meeting. First of all, when I go to the meeting, I'll make sure I go prepared. So I write all the things I've achieved that year, all the stuff I'm preparing to achieve or I'm working on, and all the things that I want to achieve in terms of maybe a promotion or all the extracurricular activities I'm working on, and then run it by them so that they can be up to date on what you're doing. Because what happens is sometimes these managers are so busy. They've got kids at home who are stressing them out. They are not sleeping at night. The last thing they're thinking of is your career. So if you don't take charge of your career, booking those catch-up calls quarterly, monthly, half annually, I would advise quarterly. Forget it. They are not progressing your career the way you expect them to, and then you end up feeling left out, or you end up feeling like they are not helping you to get to where you want to get to. You need to take charge of that career. So you have to every single time you have to send an email and do as a reply on the old email. So if, let's say, somebody randomly calls your manager, maybe your manager's manager, and decides to ask, oh, how's Abigail doing? She can quickly bring up that email and say, wow, she's done this and that and that and that and that. Otherwise, where is she going to get the information on what you're doing and why you deserve a promotion or why you deserve to be recognized? So you need to make it easy for your manager to work with you and to know that you're a valuable member of your team and therefore you are not missing your promotions. One other thing about going for meetings, recently because of lockdown, so many people do their meetings on Zoom and they'll go for meetings and have their camera switched off. Please switch on your camera. Make sure people see your face. Make sure people know that you are sitting in the room and you're contributing. Prepare before the meeting so that you can ask questions. When there are takeaways from the meeting, be proactive, write them up and send it to the rest of the team. Try and make sure people feel your presence whenever you're around. Because if you're always hiding and you're like just minding your own business, like literally it's not going to help you get further in your career. People are not going to notice you and you're going to be passed up on so many opportunities that could help you grow. So be present each time, especially if you're working from home. Try and switch on your camera when you're speaking to people on Zoom or like Microsoft Teams meetings or Google Meet meetings. Make sure that they feel your presence and that you're actively doing something to improve the organization that you work in, and they'll compensate you for it. The next tip I'm going to mention is networking. So networking is huge in corporate, at least in the banks that I've worked for. What you need to know is, or what I did to help my networking was I started systemizing it. What do I mean by that? So I had a whole Excel sheet of people in my organization that I thought needed to know who I am and what I'm doing and how I was going to catch up with them. So anytime I catch up with them, I come and write notes on the date I did and what we discussed, how the discussion went, and what I think I need to be doing to have more conversations with them. So if, let's say, there's a partner or like a really senior member in your company that you think you need to have a good relationship with, and you look on your sheet and for the last 6 months you've not caught up with them, you've not said anything to them, they have no idea what you are doing with your life, then you need to have a catch up soon. And you need to be in a position where you have things to talk about. So if you're not doing anything in the organization beyond your regular job, you usually don't have much to talk about. So because these senior people care about what the company cares about, which is usually like the extracurricular stuff that the company is doing, maybe donating to charity, maybe improving some systems, maybe working on a project to open a new office in another location. So if you are not keeping up to date on what the company is up to, you end up not having things to discuss. And if you're not keeping up to date as well, you also don't put up your hand to work on such projects. And then you realize that your conversations are becoming dry, you're not interested anymore. And these people who could have been your sponsors are actually not your sponsors anymore because they don't see you bringing value to the table. So have a networking sheet and monitor it. Monitor it every week. Maybe Friday every week before you leave the office. You go through it, skim it, and you're like, actually, next week I need to talk to this person and that person and that person who are big stakeholders in my career so that they understand where I am, where I'm trying to go, or even just for banter. Sometimes you just want to ask how their children are doing. They just need to know you exist so that when your name appears in a room where you are not present, they can say, yes, I know that girl. I know what she's been up to. I know how much she's contributed to this company. We need to give her her promotion, because there are so many places that people make decisions about us where we are not in the room, and our networks are the ones that get us what we actually want. The last thing I would say is having emotional intelligence and also fighting for yourself. So sometimes, and I faced this so many times, actually, it became too much for me. And I did not know how to handle it until later down the line. When you have issues developing with anyone else, so let's say your team member, let's say you've got a team member who's trying to throw you under the bus or passing comments that you don't like just because they think that they are better than you, address the issue immediately. I will say it again. Address the issue immediately. Don't have someone disrespect you and you now go home and tell your friends or your family how this person said this and you felt insulted. You need to tell the person right when it happens. So I'll give you an example. There was this time where a new colleague of mine joined my desk, and she was trying so hard to prove that she was good at her job and like she was good with speaking to clients. And then I'll notice that whenever I stepped off the desk, then she would try and like, engage my clients and have a conversation with them and like, try and service them as my clients. And then whenever I come back, she doesn't really say that that's what she's been up to. So I addressed it immediately. When I noticed that was happening, I'm like, can I have a word with you, please? You walk into a room. Already, before you say, when you say, can I have a word with you? Now they are thinking, what have I done wrong? Yes, they've done something wrong and you want to address it. Why is it that we all have our dedicated clients and you are servicing my clients in my absence? And it's not because maybe I've gone on holiday, but just because maybe I decided to go and use the washroom. And just around that short moment is when you had something to say to my clients, when it could have waited for me to come and do it. So sometimes some people pass comments about your food, about weird things. If you find it to be uncomfortable, please address it immediately. Do not let time pass over it, and then later down the line, maybe in a review or something, you are now telling your manager, oh, they said something and you weren't in agreement, or you didn't like how the person said that thing. The opportunity is gone. They probably don't even remember, and you are now sitting there bitter and not producing as much as you should, just because you are unhappy about how someone treats you or how someone regarded you on the desk. Please solve all problems immediately and be free, so that you can move on with your life and deliver, which is what you are there to do, and not just to, sulk at what everyone is saying just because you think they are indirectly attacking you. So those are the tips that I will share for now. If you have any questions, if you want me to do something further about this topic, do let me know. And yeah, hope you have a successful career and you see results using some of these tips.